one thing I'd be curious to get everyone's opinion on is how we're seeing the market shift from, in terms of trading volume, from decentralized cryptocurrencies more towards stablecoins, and whether you think that interest and demand for stablecoins based on Ethereum and pegged to the US dollar, or perhaps even like a crypto pegged stablecoin like DAI, whether that trend may also eventually lead to Bitcoin being, or crypto being traded against something like a central bank issued cryptocurrency, assuming that it is some sort of cryptocurrency built on a blockchain, not just a digital currency in that sense. So I'd like to just start off with Lennix to see from from OKX's data in terms of like trading activity, what have you seen with stablecoin demand?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that would be a very interesting topic, considering the fact that we are one of the largest USDT holder in the world. So I would say that a pretty difficult topic to comment, because we do see Bitcoin is known to be, or created to be, a digital cash. They want to be kind of designed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, but it's getting to be a lot more like digital gold, digital collectibles for and storage of values instead of a medium exchange. And as a matter of fact, maybe a majority of a crypto trading transaction, OTC or even cross-border settlement, is actually executed by Tether or other form of stablecoin. So but you have to put a very big distinctions or categorization between Tethers or other US dollar pegged stablecoin, because other, you need to have a trust account, you need to have a creation, a redemption process within the bank and the crypto itself. But Tether, you can fit your demand, you can print and fit your demand as long as the demand is there. So I would say Tether is more like a fractional banking system. On the contrary, the other stablecoin is a full service, a full collateral banking system. So you can imagine a fractional banking system is a lot more flexible if you compare with USD stablecoin. So right now in crypto space, everyone is having a consensus that we're gonna use Tether. We are still using Tether, and Tether is actually one of the most important medium exchange among crypto trading. Bitcoin, on the contrary, cannot be replaced as well, because you simply cannot forget about all the underlying risk or the black swan risk related to your Tether portfolio. So we got asked on every single basis whether we can hash or we can create a type of derivatives that we can hash 100% on the Tether exposure. At the same time, the other USD-based stablecoin had yet to pick up, but I think they would seek their chance. They would have their opportunities when there is sovereign risk related to Tether. And right now, we can see a lot of fierce competition between all kind of trustee-based stablecoin. I think eventually maybe 2 or 3 will pick up and serve its unique needs of their own customers. So I won't say decentralized currency would completely replace the role of Bitcoin as a currency, but on a day-to-day basis, I think we will rely on more fiat-based stablecoin in future rather than Bitcoin.
That's interesting. One kind of a follow-up question is, when we look at those stablecoins like Tether and USDC, we're still kind of putting trust at the end of the day in the companies which are managing those funds. Whereas The point of crypto, I think, for many believers is the fact that it is a decentralized, trustless based system, because a few years ago there was some controversy around Tether about the auditing of their accounts and if they actually had the US dollars that they claim to have, and that sort of thing. So that's why even personally I haven't invested in any stable coin, but this is just like an open question. When you have stable coins being managed by companies effectively, and then perhaps in the future stable coins managed by some sort of consortium, like as we see with Libra, and maybe some other kind of stable coins being released by central banks and that sort of thing. So there's more of a follow-up question about trust. Like, do we think that there will be a crypto stablecoin equivalent where somehow we can get that crypto-based stablecoin right in terms of building like a less volatile price around crypto assets? I mean, this is more of an open question. So I think maybe Matty, if you want to follow up from the original one, and if you have any comments about what I said.
Well, Thomas, the funny thing about stable coins is, you get all of the risk and none of the reward. I mean, you mentioned investing in stable coins. I can't understand this concept. I mean, unless you're talking about some sort of a DeFi solution that's going to pay you interest, those are extremely experimental at the moment. For myself, I mean, you don't, like you mentioned, you don't want to trust the exchange with your crypto long term. When you're holding actually Tether itself, you're adding an extra element of risk onto yourself. What if Tether goes bust, or what if the price all of a sudden plummets and they can't fix it? The good news is that and as much as Tether is growing, I mean, geez, it's about to flip an XRP. I mean, it's quite a monster. I kind of disagree with Lennix. I don't think that. I mean, and obviously the future is wide open. Neither of us can really tell the future, but I don't think that any other kind of stable coin is going to come in and start encroaching on Tether, because Tether's already there and it's already providing that solution. And I don't think that, and I've polled people on Twitter and asked, of my followers, like, who's using it and why? And the answer is always because they use it temporarily because it's more liquid. It's the most liquid out there, and it's fastest, and you're gonna get your orders filled, and it's gonna be the cheapest, and it's gonna be the most transportable. So it's accepted by all of the different exchanges. So when you have an industry incumbent like that, I mean, what is some other stablecoin going to come in and offer? Oh, we're regulated. Who cares? If you're not filling my orders, if you're not the cheapest option out there, I'm only using it temporarily. So what do I care if it's regulated or more trustworthy on that sense? It's a bit scary to see that it's grown this much. But the good news is that the worst case scenario that I can foresee is if something happens to Tether, whether it's imposed by the New York Attorney General, or I don't know, they up and exit scam all of everybody. What's in Bitcoin is in Bitcoin, and if the price of Tether all of a sudden starts to plummet for any reason, what you see is a mass exodus of stable coins in general into Bitcoin. So anybody holding Bitcoin is going to benefit from that, and not the other way around.
Interesting. And on the point around like the growing possibility that a central bank or a large established corporation like Facebook, for example, would issue their own stable coin on top of some sort of blockchain network that could be listed on a lot of the exchanges that we have now. I mean, Alessio, I'm sure that you probably have approached or have been approached by some of these institutions regarding custody, because in my mind that would be one of the major concerns that they would have about kind of releasing this into the public. So yeah, it'd be good to get your thoughts on that demand regarding central bank or sort of global institutional sort of issued cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we're working on a number of projects in the area. So it really depends, as you rightly said, on what you define as a stable coin, right? So you have those, completely agree with Matti, those blockchain native stable coin that are really experimental at this stage. So we're not in that space yet. Then we have the ones that are backed by fiat currency, and I think the attention now is which networks are going to support them, right? So apart from Ethereum, obviously Tether that is moving from Omni to Ethereum, but now, I mean, you have other networks supporting it, including Tron, Algorand, etc. So it will be important for us to offer all kinds of support to those protocols as well. But those stable coins, I mean, apart from the fact that if there is a problem with the stable coin, there will be demand for Bitcoin. I would say that those stable coins, they're not independently existing, right? So they exist because there is a blockchain network underneath, and there's a cryptocurrency that supports that network, right? So you can't really talk about the development of the stable coin without the development of the adoption of Ethereum, right? Because one works on the other network. On the central banks, yes, there are a lot of projects, and we're actually, discussing certain things for this type of issuance. Now, it's a little bit of a gray area, because for central bank projects, it could be on a private blockchain, it could be on a public blockchain, but it could also be not on a blockchain at all, right? So it's going to be more of a digital currency rather than a blockchain-based digital currency, right? So whether, in terms of the custodian, whether we should give support for something that, yes, it is digital, but has nothing to do with blockchain, is a little bit of a controversial topic, right? Also considering assets that are going to be issued on Corda. We are one of the first custodians to provide support for Corda, but Corda is not per se a blockchain, right? So it's going to be an interesting time to actually see what the role of custodians will be. And the last one, yes, the corporation-based stable coins. We became a member of the Celo Alliance, so we'll be supporting that stable coin network as the first network that we'll be supporting. And I think there will still be a lot of regulatory scrutiny, and there will still be a lot of work in terms of how this can be actually distributed to retail investors or users in the short term.